Hello and welcome along to episode 57 of the Don Michelle sponsored A View from Section C. Senior has a new A View from Section C t-shirt on. He's all excited. He's all excited for this.
Got a new one on.
Made by a new provider.
Provider.
My wife.
Yeah. New merch.
Fun.
Yeah, new merch is going to be available.
Yeah. How have you been?
I've been good. I'm on holiday this week.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I had a day off yesterday, to be fair. We had Spencer for the weekend, and I knew I was going to need a break on the Monday to recover for it. 2 fifers in the house is a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what happens,
What can you say?
Yeah, I had high hopes of doing loads of things, and I've done feck all.
Good.
I've cut the grass. That's all I've done. I've cut the grass, and it's rained ever since.
Yeah. Well, and since the last episode, you've done fuck all. I've grew the mustache back after our interview with AJ McLean. You know, I went back. Paul McLean, that mustache, standing on that Sens bench, it just got us again. I thought mustache is coming back, senior.
Yeah.
So
okay, whatever.
So we do have a special guest again this week.
We do.
A lot of people were guessing Corey Drover when we put the Corey Rhodes gif up.
All right.
Now it was to do with the gif for everyone. For me, it just kind of happened to be that, American. This guy was a nightmare when he played against us, and he was a nightmare when he played for us against other teams.
Yep.
But it was the let's go of the GIF
that
we were trying to promote for this person.
I'm surprised nobody got it or nobody's guessed it. Maybe they've guessed it and they've not said anything, but I've not seen anything. But yeah, it's always been there. Let's go.
The let's go. That was it. And we had to put that GIF out. That was the hashtag for the show. That's why the show is titled Let's Go. Our special guest this week is none other than the man himself, Vinny Scarsella.
How's it going?
Hey, Vinny, how are you doing?
Doing well. Just enjoying a beautiful sunny day in Buffalo, New York, so no complaints here.
Well, Senior's just been complaining that it's absolutely pissing down around his area. I don't have it yet. We're dry in Arbroath, but yeah, it's pissing down beside him.
Well, at least he got that grass cut, so that's huge.
That's it. That's the main thing.
Important things,
Yep, the Let's Go. It is Let's Go, Vinny Scarsella. We still do it to this day. We still do it round the rink. That was the celebration all the time. But yeah, a lot of people guessed Corey Drover, and I was just like, no, American Nightmare himself, Vinny Scarsella, because he was a nightmare for teams, especially after that year that we will touch on, but not too much, when he played for that small team down south of the border. That time.
We don't need to touch on that one too much, right?
Not too much. So we'll get straight into it. Obviously, we always have a player on. We discuss the career and stuff. So, Vinny, you obviously started in the NCAA with Canisius College. I have been practicing that all day to make sure I did not fuck it up.
It was you had a slight fuck up. It's Canisius.
Oh,
well, I was close enough.
It's close enough. Yeah, I've heard way worse, so that's totally fine.
So yeah, playing at that in the NCAA. Obviously, you can see behind me, massive Ottawa fan. Played with a former Sens player in Corey Conacher. What was the level like playing in the NCAA? In comparison to kind of the other levels that you've played at.
Yeah, it's college it's funny, right? It's guys every week you're kind of playing for a spot. So guys are just going 1,000 miles an hour. It's a lot different than the pro atmosphere, I would say, just because it's a little bit more controlled game in pro hockey, whereas with college it's a lot more dump and chase, go hit somebody, get the puck. So it's a high tempo game. And really, like I said, every week you're kind of playing for a spot just because you're on the first line. If you have a bad weekend, you could be third, fourth line come the next week. So it's a high tempo game, a lot of skill involved, but like I said too, it's just a lot of dumping and chasing and going 1,000 miles an hour and just hitting anyone that has the puck, basically.
Yeah, as I say, we'll all be used to that dump and chase with Omar as a coach.
Yep. It wasn't my forte with Mark, but whatever the coach wants, I'll try and do. But I preferred kind of controlling the puck a little bit.
Yeah. Obviously, we've had guys on the show before that have kind of spoke about obviously playing in the CIS, NCAA, and trying to make that step up and stuff. And obviously, you kind of right at the end of the college, you played up into the ECHL with Elmira. Just how difficult was that jump for yourself, or did you feel it's quite a smooth transition?
Yeah, it was difficult to an extent. Obviously, it's tough anytime that you're going to a brand new team with totally different faces and just trying to kind of fit in the locker room. But like the biggest thing for me was I was wearing a cage all my life up until I got to Elmira, and then when you put the visor on, it's a little bit different of a game. Worrying about your face a little bit sometimes, but it was tough at the start just because, like I was saying a little bit before, the game is so different from pro as opposed to college. So trying to get the systems right and just doing the little things, especially just kind of getting there. You didn't really want to make a mistake or do anything out of the realm of what you think you should be doing. So it took me a couple games to kind of get used to it, and especially get used to the guys and stuff, just because I like to be a locker room guy, have fun in the room, and it's kind of tough when you're there alone and can't really be yourself. So I would say after the first week at Elmira, got used to the guys, got used to the systems, and it was towards the end of the year, so only played 8 games, but it was definitely a good stepping stone just to kind of get used to pro hockey and how to take care of yourself day in and day out.
Do you mind much of your teammates at Elmira, Vinny? There was an ex-Dundee guy there, Brennan Turner.
Yeah, I don't know if he was there. That I know that Elmira team, they had their roster at one point, it was up to like 75 guys just from getting released and traded and such. So I kind of came in there at the end, and to be quite honest, I really don't remember much of the guys' names and such, just because I was there for call it 3 weeks or so, and then kind of got sent on the way once the season was done.
Yeah, Turner, he was a tough customer though.
He was a big guy. When he played at Dundee, he was a big guy, big D man. I just sometimes thought we Brennan was, although he was a big tough guy, he was sometimes quite soft. He wasn't from guys that you've played with. He wasn't a Sescon type of player.
Sasky's soft in the room, so don't let us exterior scare you.
So what we're saying is he was more of a Cam McGiffin, right?
Oh, perfect. Soft, there you go.
Well, big softy.
yes. Cam, he also was my go-to haircut guy. So he's still unreal.
Mine. Still mine.
He's unreal.
I've got an appointment with next week.
Oh, perfect. Tell him I said hi, and I wish he could still be my guy for haircuts, but unfortunately it's too far a travel for me then.
But so obviously after that you then made the move into Europe, went to play in Germany 3 and then the Hockey Tan in Sweden. How was it for you? Obviously, you've discussed that kind of three weeks or so with Elmira, but then completely going other side of the world into Europe and playing with a couple of teams, Germany and Sweden. How was it for your first kind of full year at pro, and then staying on and kind of trying to build that European game within yourself?
Yeah. I mean, the German thing, that kind of came about out of the blue. My agent called me and just said a team in Germany is looking for a player right in Berlin. And I've always kind of wanted to travel to Europe and see the culture in the different cities there. And that was kind of a no-brainer then for me to go there. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking just kind of hopping on the flight and skipping across the pond. But the guys on the team were great guys. All spoke English pretty well. Could have conversations with them. And I tried to learn German as much as I could, but that language is a tough one. First practice, I thought the coach was screaming at us. I asked the guy, he's like, no, he's just explaining the drill. So it's how they are there. But that was a fun season. I had a good time. And like you said, then the next year went over to Sweden, which kind of the same thing with Germany, just kind of came up out of the blue. And I always wanted to see Sweden as well. And same thing, the guys on the team, all great guys, spoke English actually really, really well. So it was a good kind of stepping stone those 2 years just to kind of get my feet wet in pro hockey and really get a year, 2 years under my belt then with Germany and Sweden, and really kind of prepares you for preparing the body day in and day out, practicing every day, games 3-4 times a week, whatever it may be. So definitely different too, just from college in that respect as well. With college, you're playing Friday, Saturday night, and then you're done. So with this, having to play a little bit more of a grueling schedule definitely prepares you just for whatever you need to do off the ice, especially just to keep the body healthy and keep the mind healthy as well. Just when you're going through some spurts of not playing well or not putting up points when you feel that you should, it's you kind of got to take a step back sometimes and just refresh the memory and kind of get away from it.
How did you settle in Sweden, Vinny? We had I don't know if you remember him, Robert Dow, that played at Sheffield. We had Robert on the show, and he played in Sweden. And I think him and his wife were there, and it was just him, his wife, and his dog in the middle of no place. He says he felt like it was like what you're saying. You played your games at the weekend, you trained during the day, but then you were left. And he says he felt he was really lucky that he had his wife with him. Or he said that had been him. He said he'd have just left. Because I'd noticed on the roster you were the only import, I think, when you were there.
Yeah. It was and to Dowd's point, I was in a very small town. It was like Kalinga-Ronneby, I believe is how you pronounce it. And very small town. They had like one movie theater, one bar, one restaurant. So it was super small. But I was pretty lucky, just even though I was solo, how they kind of set us up living was kind of comparable to how we were in Dundee. Just everyone was in the same apartment complex, and it was really just the team that was in that complex. So I was around the guys really basically for 24 hours a day. And they were all great guys, except me, with open arms. And that definitely helps, especially going to a new team, being the only import. So it was, you had to find things to do at some parts of the day, but just being around the guys day in and day out definitely helped alleviate any kind of sort of loneliness that you could feel, especially, like I said, just being the only import. But it was tough at times, but it was a fun, I was there for 7-8 months, whatever it may be. It was a fun 7-8 months.
Yeah. And then the decision came to go back to the US in the ECHL. So obviously, couple of seasons there with Utah and Stockton. A big Stars favourite that you played with in Jack McClellan, possibly the best karaoke singer Dundee has ever came across.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Singing Matchbox 20.
He's got good pipes on him, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely.
There was even a women's bra thrown at him during that performance of Matchbox 20.
Hey, it must have been a hell of a performance then.
But what took you back to the US? From obviously you kind of 2 years established a little bit yourself in Europe. What was it that took you back home?
Yeah, I think for me anyways, just playing those 8 games in Elmira, I kind of always wanted to get back to the US and the East Coast Hockey League, just to kind of prove to myself that I could play a full year and contribute to a team there, just because it is a lot different, the coast, as compared to the 2 years that I was in Germany and Sweden. it's a little bit more. Obviously, the ice is smaller, and it's a little bit more of a hitting game. And you're playing 72 games in the coast. But just like I said, wanted to kind of prove to myself that I could do it. Fun 2 years in Utah. Got traded to Stockton mid-season, actually, my second year in Utah, which hurt a little bit, but Stockton was fun. I had fun for those 2 years, but then, as I'm sure you're gonna kind of dive into, after those 2 years and grinding through the coast, just wanted to get back to Europe and kind of have some fun again in Europe. Prove to myself that I could do it in the coast, and then like I said, just wanted to get to Europe and see what else was out there.
Yeah. See at Stockton, I think your netminder was a guy who's an absolute pain in the arse for Dundee fans, and he's still a pain in the arse for Dundee fans. Shane Owen.
Yeah, actually, so Shane, he was, I think, either gone right before I got there or was added right after I was done in Stockton. Right. But I know Shane pretty well, just obviously playing against him in Fife all those times, and it always felt a little bit better to get one by him than the other goaltenders in the league for some reason. Yeah. But I think we had mutual respect for each other. Obviously, he's an unbelievable goaltender, but it always felt, like I said, a little bit better to sneak one by him.
Yeah, for sure. As my dad says, he's probably the biggest pain in the arse as a Stars fan that of any Fife player. And we've had a lot of pains in the arse as a Fife players over the years. But like you say, you then obviously you wanted to kind of come back into Europe again. It was with that team down in, you know what, and then even Manchester. It's Altrincham. It's even Manchester. But obviously coming over to the UK with the Storm. What was it? Obviously our old GM and coach as well. It was Pash that kind of brought you in. What was it that drew you into the UK and the Elite League?
Yeah, that kind of came about randomly as well, because I was kind of gonna sign in the coast again, and then Posh and my agent reached out that Manchester is getting a team, or Altrincham, whatever you want to call them, but it's always kind of a little bit of a hesitancy, just because it's a new team. You don't really know how the finances are going to be, so it's a risk in that respect. But I did know I wanted to get back to Europe, and especially being able to play in Manchester, just for myself anyways, it seemed like the right deal. And Posh, I thought, did a great job that first year, basically being an expansion team and trying to kind of get things under control. But it was a fun year. Love Posh. He's a great player, great coach. And like I said, I thought it's definitely tough, I would think anyways, to have a whole new team in the league and figure out all the ins and outs of that. But yeah, that was a fun year. But then, once I met with Mark, as I'm sure we're going to get into, couldn't really pass up Dundee, just because we played them, countless times in Manchester. Love the arena, especially that Olympic pad's nice. So it was, but like I said, it was a great first year in Manchester. I wish we could have done a little bit more anyways for the fans, just because they deserved maybe a little bit of a playoff run there. But I thought it was a good stepping stone for Manchester, and then had to get on my way.
Yeah, and as you say, you did get on your way. You crossed over to the light side, the good side, up over the border into the north, and obviously Mark had managed to. And I think what we actually thought at the time was a bit of a coup for Dundee, considering the season you'd had in Manchester. A lot of Stars fans would have thought at the time, teams like Nottingham, Sheffield could have quite easily come in, snapped up a guy who was putting up points for fun in one of the smaller teams. So the fact that Mark had managed to get you, we all thought it was a massive signing. So what was it that Mark did to actually get you to come into Dundee?
Yeah, that's a kind of a funny story. It just so happened that he reached out to me. He was down in Florida, and my parents live down in Florida, so we just happened to be in Florida at the same time, and figured out he actually is like, I think it was like 15 minutes away from where my parents were living. So we met at a restaurant, and I honestly don't really remember what he said to kind of sway me, but I always, meeting with Mark, I got a good vibe from him, and especially too, I think like Switzer already re-signed, Farina re-signed, a couple other guys, I believe as well, kind of already re-signed. So I was just under the assumption that if all these guys who are, kind of big name players are re-signing this early, Mark must be doing something right. The city must be doing something right as well. And I just wanted to join that, and I still like the feel of a, I don't know if this is the right word, but like kind of a smaller franchise team to compete with the big boys, like you were saying, Sheffield, Nottingham, Belfast, Cardiff, and just kind of wanted just to be the underdog still, and kind of upset those teams that have maybe a little bit of a higher payroll than Dundee, Manchester, Fife. So was always kind of allured to go into those teams instead of kind of the big name teams.
Yeah, and like you say, that upsetting the big team. Now, this isn't something that I put in the questions to you, and it came to us today. Was thinking back to the 4-3 overtime win in Belfast. What was your guys' what was your recollection, and what was the guys' response to that Michigan goal by Joey Sides?
Yeah, that was because that was still early in the year too. I think
Challenge Cup,
maybe it was like I think it was maybe our fourth or fifth game of the year, whatever it was. But so all the guys are still kind of getting used to each other, still just kind of feeling each other out. I did not know that Sidesy was going to do that, so I don't know if if you guys watched the replay or the highlights of that, I was shocked that he did that.
Yeah.
And I've seen it, on TV and such, but to see that live was something special. And especially, I mean, it was very smooth, and I was flabbergasted that he was able to pull that move off, because I know I can't do it. It's a tough move to pull off, especially full speed during a game. But it just goes to show, how skilled Sidesy was. We had a lot of skill on the team, and that was a fun game. I think Switzer scored the OT goal on a breakaway.
A shorty for yourself.
That was a short-handed goal.
Yeah, thanks to Mr. Fallon taking a penalty in the first 2 minutes of the game for roughing.
Yeah, he likes, make it a little bit more controversial for us. But yeah, I remember that goal. I think the puck hopped over the D-man's stick for Belfast, and then just kind of got lucky on a shot. But that game really had it all, because I think Sescon had a fight. 7 goals total. Yeah. So that was a fun game, and two, it gave us confidence that we can compete with the big boys. And if we come to play day in and day out, we could beat anybody.
Yeah, and like you say, it did. It kind of set us on the way for the season, and obviously that season was, the first time that we, as Mark would say, we went to the dance. We qualified for the playoff weekend in Nottingham, but obviously I'm very good friends with Cam since he's been at the Stars, and we had him on the show, and he spoke about the atmosphere of the quarterfinals against Glasgow and first leg in Dundee. You've played in front of big crowds, ECHL, decent crowds come there, NCAA, all the students go out and support the team and stuff. So just what was it like for yourself at that DIA? Because up until recently, the most recent Sheffield playoff game, atmosphere was unreal, but the only thing close to that was that game against Glasgow, and it'd been a long time since we'd seen it. We'd been going since 2001. So what was it like for you as a player?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, just getting to the rink, you could tell it was obviously a little bit different of an atmosphere already. And then stepping out for warm-ups, and then for the first period, you could just the crowd was loud. And it was just an awesome game, and just super happy too that we could get that first leg under our belt and come out with a lead against a very good Glasgow team. But the fans, all year, I thought they were awesome. You know, they always came to support us, and were super loud. Had all their chants for the players that would score that game. But it definitely was electric. I mean, it's if you can't get up for a game like that, especially with all the fans behind you, I think you got something wrong with you. So
yeah,
I think definitely we were a little nervous going into it, but once you get that first shift under your belt and just know the crowd's behind you, it makes a world of a difference. You know, it's like having really 6 guys instead of 5 out there at all times, and it was a crucial, obviously, first game, and glad we got to take that one, and then obviously the next one in Glasgow. But can't say enough for the fans. Even in Glasgow, they were super loud and you know, supported us all through. And just unfortunately, we came up a little short against Cardiff. But the fans all year, like I said, I can't speak enough to that. They were amazing.
Yeah. The second game against Glasgow, in Glasgow, Vinny, there was a bit of controversy, because was that not the night that Glasgow requested that Joe's glove got measured?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that the other day for some reason. But I don't know. I think I forget the coach's name for Glasgow, but I think maybe just we had a lot of momentum on our side at that point, and it seemed like to me anyways that we were kind of doing everything right and stifling their their main point guys, and they couldn't really do much. So I don't know if that was more of a, hey, let's try and change the tide here, change the momentum, and kind of slow the game down. So if that was it, smart play. But you know, we came in super confident, especially after taking game 1. So I don't really think there was anything they could have really done to beat us that night. So it was strange for sure, but can't blame him for trying, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was Ryan Finnerty, and there's a running joke in the Elite League of Finnerty's excuse book. Every time there was a loss, there was an excuse, there was a reason, and I think this was like the epitome of it, of the excuse book, that his glove was too big.
So he might have had to go through the pages on the excuse book then to find that one. But like I said, I mean, can't blame him for trying. You know, I always liked Finnerty. He was always super nice to me. But yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, especially when things aren't going your way. And I guess he he really turned the pages in his book for that one. But you know, like I said, I don't think anything was really stopping us from winning that game for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say, you know, we did go down there at Nottingham for the weekend. We did go 2-0 up against Cardiff, 2 assists for yourself, and ultimately we lost the game 4-2. Obviously, the fourth one being an empty netter. Now, for me, I still put the blame on the officials in that game. There were some very questionable calls, some very questionable non-calls, and even the guys that were doing the radio commentating for BBC were saying how shit the non-calls were. Now, again, this isn't a dig at our friends in Stripes, because we're all Team Stripes on this podcast. However, there was a lot of dodgy calls that day. But in all seriousness, though, for you, you know, was it just it was too much come the end, like that second, third period? Was it too much? Had we put too much into it, or was it just Cardiff were that strong that they just kind of took over?
Yeah, I think more so is Cardiff was such a good team. You know, going up 2-0, and then even Cardiff making it 2-1. I think it was like in the middle of the second period. It takes a little bit of the wind out of your sails to an extent, but I think if you asked anyone, fans included, for Dundee, if we could be up 2-1 going into the third period against Cardiff, I think we're all going to take that. And then, you know, that second goal that they scored, you know, Joe was our rock all year. And I think even if you asked him, he says he doesn't even know how that one went in. It kind of just went through him. It was a lucky break, I think, for Cardiff. And I don't know what they did just kind of during the game, but something changed, because we really didn't have much room for anything, especially after we scored that second goal. So I don't know what they kind of changed up, but they took a lot of time and space away from us, and we really couldn't do much at all. But just a testament to how good of a team, you know, Cardiff was that year. And it was definitely tough, especially kind of in the back of my head, knowing that, could be my last time skating competitively.
Yeah.
But I think all the guys tried, gave it 110%. And unfortunately, we just came up a little short, but that's just hockey sometimes.
Yeah.
That's it. And Cardiff have been there before, Vinny. They're an experienced team. They've won many championships. They've been at the Final Four on numerous occasions. They've won probably the majority of them when they've been there. For me, there was dodgy calls. I just think, in the end, I think their experience told. I think, as you say, they knew how to close the game out. Once they got back to 2-1, then it went to 2-2. And I think from there, unfortunately for us, there was only going to be one winner, I think. And again, for me, it's just experience. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part. I don't think Cardiff really ever panicked that game, especially us going up 2-0. They still were calm, cool, and collected on the bench and on the ice. And, the refs, it is what it is. I think you go into those games hoping for a perfect game, but it's rarely, even in the NHL, whatever league, it's rarely that a perfect game's ever called. And you just got to play through, even if you think a call's questionable or there should have been a penalty here, there should have been a penalty there. I'm sure the Cardiff fans and the players would say the same thing, that, maybe we should have had more penalties called against us or whatever. But yeah, I think, you're spot on. They, been there before. They knew not to panic. They knew just to continue to play their game, and they just kind of wore us down and came out on top at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you say that, obviously, that you felt it could be your last time skating professionally, and it was. You made the decision to retire. I still don't think it was ever announced that you'd retired. So a view from Section C, exclusive here. Vinny Scarsella has retired. He's made the announcement now.
Has he? He's never said he's retired yet. And as you know, Mark is back in Dundee.
Yes. Well, hey, I mean, if you guys need a player for 2 weeks, give me a call. Maybe I could scoot up to Dundee and get a few games under my belt again.
But what was it? What was the deciding factor in retiring? Was it just now's the right time? I get the job, and we always discuss it with players. Hockey really is a short career. Was that the time just right that an opportunity came up, or had you already been thinking about it?
I was, to be honest, already thinking about it. Where I was working in the summers, this financial firm, one of the presidents kind of came to me and didn't say this should be my last year, but he said he doesn't know if the job would be available if I was going to continue to play. And I understand that, they're always looking for people here where I work. And I just also too knew that sooner or later needed to get into the real world and kind of get a big boy job. And I do love it here where I'm working. So it was a tough decision, but I knew it needed to be done. I didn't want to, play till I was 40 or whatever it may be. I knew, I had maybe 1 or 2 years left after Dundee if I was going to continue to play. But like I said, I just knew I needed to get into the real world at some point, and no regrets still. Very happy where I'm at and still playing a little bit of hockey on the side. But it was definitely a tough decision, especially, I personally myself I thought a good year at Dundee, and it kind of sucks to go out like that, but especially losing to Cardiff in a heartbreaking fashion in the playoffs. But just knew I needed to start a big boy job and get into the real world, and unfortunately had to step away from hockey.
Yeah. Well, Senior, you did hear on here that he said he might be available for 2 weeks. So we'll get in touch with EIHL rumours on Twitter. We'll start that Twitter.
Yes, get it going.
Vinny Scarsella back to Dundee.
He's coming back for 2 weeks, and it's just so happens that the 2 weeks will be the Final Four again.
Yes, exactly.
Redemption.
Perfect timing. It's weird how that works.
Yeah.
But Vinny, from yourself, obviously, from us, Stars fans were very appreciative of the work ethic that you put in that. It was only 1 year, but it was a hell of a year. It was a great team to watch. the yellow line of Farina Switzer and Lee Tammer, absolutely tremendous. Yourself, Joey Sides, Kale Tanaka. We even brought in little Scrappy Doo and Tommaso Traversa at one point, and then he went again.
Oh wow!
And, it was a fun season. And Stars fans, I don't think there was a bad word ever said about yourself from any Stars fans. How opinionated Elite League fans can be about players.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe not publicly they didn't say anything bad about me, but maybe in the house internally if I didn't have a good game, which, that's totally fine.
Yeah, it wasn't very often you didn't have a good game, though. There was 72 points in 52 games in that season. Your next closest person to you was Kevin Broyston with 54. So, it was, the fans loved you. And, we would have took you back in a heartbeat had you decided to stay on for that other year. But from yourself, a final message for Stars fans. And you know what? We'll even throw it in there for the Altrincham Manchester Storm fans as well. if you maybe want to say a wee thing for them.
Yeah, for the Dundee fans, especially. I mean, you were saying, we had a special team, but it's kind of easier to be special when you have the town support and all the fans coming in, game in, game out, going crazy, supporting all the players, and just kind of accepting us with open arms, and making the DIA one of my favorite places to play, and just especially to travel support was unbelievable. I don't think there was one game where there wasn't 20, 30 crazy Dundee fans going nuts for us at the away games. I mean, to all the Dundee fans, I really, really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to come to support us, and especially spend, in my opinion, probably a lot of money to support us as well. So it means a lot to us. I know during the season you don't really hear us maybe talk too much about the fans, but we knew in the locker room that we had a very, very special fan base, and we're super lucky to be able to call DIA home base, especially just with all the fan support.
Yeah.
And Manchester, great fans as well.
just quickly, and we'll get it right away. But
they were great as well. They supported us well.
Yeah. So what we could do now, because we could open the podcast slightly wider now, because Vinny has said good words about Manchester, so we'll tag Manchester in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
and I'll be like, they'll be waiting on the big bit about Manchester, and we've just got our extra views for absolutely nothing. So that's always
extra views, though. You can't complain. Yeah.
But no, seriously, again, Vinny, thank you very much for your time. We know that you're currently on your lunch break, so we do appreciate you taking time out of your day to reminisce about some old times, and what was a really fun season. Stars fans are absolutely. We always ask them, who do you want to hear from? And the amount of people that still say Vinny, we'd love to hear from Vinny. We'd love to see Vinny back. And, it was a few years ago now. Vinny won't be back, but we will get him on the podcast eventually. We appreciate you taking the time out for coming on and speaking to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Whenever, you guys have a lull and some people being that you can't interview or whatever, I'm always pretty much always available. So whenever you guys want to catch up, years down the road, whatever that may be, I still keep tabs on the Elite League and on Dundee especially. So hopefully this year, I'm sure Mark's going to put a very, very strong team together, and hopefully you guys can get back to Nottingham. And Corey Conacher also says hi. I was texting with him right before this, so he says hi to you guys. So he's planning to journey.
There we go.
Next special guest.
The next special
exactly,
guest.
Right?
Vinny Scarsella Part 2 with Corey Conacher.
Yes.
That's something to think about, guys.
Yeah. I'd love it. I'd absolutely love
Happy
it.
Days.
But again, thank you very much for your time, Vinny. Senior, that's it for us for this week. We will be back next week with another special guest. Again, we're not going to reveal who it is. We might put out some clues on Twitter and Facebook, on the social media, but that is us for this week. So
perfect. Thanks again, guys, for having me. Vinny. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vinny.
All right.
Appreciate you're on your lunch.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Take care, fellas.
Okay.
Thank you. And
okay,
thanks again,
Vinny.
everyone. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you next week.